Hello guys, it's Toby here, the owner and founder of the Small Biz Academy. We help business owners implement the fundamental principles to running a successful business into their business. This will help massively improve your odds of being successful. I don't believe there's any magic strategy or quick fix to being successful, but I think having those fundamental principles in place massively improves your odds of being successful. No one can promise you success, no matter what other coaches might tell you. In this training today, I'm going to go through those fundamental principles for building your team. So this is people mastery. So we're going to go through that. There is a couple of other videos about other areas as well, so make sure you check them out too. But let's get into it and let's look at how you need to master your team and build the team to run the business so you don't have to. So as you can see on here, we've got the 3 key areas that we focus on to make sure you've got the business fundamentals set up in your business. That includes mastering your money, mastering your growth, and mastering your people. And people is the area we're going to focus on today. And that cuts down to 3 key areas. The first thing is systems. And this is really about planning your business on paper or on the screen, so that you've got a structure and know exactly how your business will operate. And there's a few key things we do in this. The first one is to actually look at what your vision and your values are. So it's really important that you have that in place. So your vision is really your 10-year goal, your big, hairy, audacious goal that you're trying to achieve in your business. And the values then drive the culture in your business. So you want to have the right culture in place. Now the important thing is, or why this is important to get this down on paper, is because you want your team to live and breathe this stuff, not just you. Culture will be created in your business. Doing it like this helps you control that culture. One of the best ways or best effects I've seen this done was a couple of clients who've done it really well, actually, that come to mind, but one was a builder, and they came to me because they got their business going, they started to build the business, it was going quite well, and then the whole thing collapsed. And the whole thing collapsed because they didn't have those fundamental principles in place first before doing that. So one of the key things we did do is they set up their vision and values for the business. Now, what they did really well is, rather than just making that a paper exercise that then nobody ever uses or does anything with, they used it in their recruitment processes and in everything they did to get their team operational. So their core team in the office all got the values before the interview process, were all interviewed through the lens of those values. Those values they'd written down were their values. They believed in them. And they knew that if the employees match those values, they're going to get on and they're going to work well together. So in the end, they had a core team who all brought it into or shared those values, which massively helped them have that base to grow from. It really does help. It's not just fluff. It's really important and can be a really useful tool if you use it effectively. So that's your first step from a systems point of view and why you're doing it. The next, I would then set up an organizational chart, which is just boxes on a page of the specific roles that you need to fill in the business. This is about getting organized. If you think of your business as just a mass group of tasks that need to get done, putting an org chart together organizes those tasks around specific roles that can be filled by other people. So you can work out exactly what they are, and they can be task specific. So they can focus on, someone's focusing on marketing, someone's focusing on bookkeeping, someone's focusing on sales, so that you can then get organized. Now, often in a small business, you as the owner are in most of those boxes. But the idea being is to start to move you out those boxes as the business grows. But you need to plan what boxes you need, and not just what you need today, but what you probably need in 3 years' time. And obviously this is a document that will change and update the whole time, but you want to keep this organized, and you want to start by going, okay, this is where we are now, this is where we want to be in 3 years. What do I need? What roles do I need filled at that point? You can then work out position descriptions for those roles. So position descriptions is really just organizing those tasks under those boxes and saying you're responsible for this, you're responsible for this. So it's a way of getting organized and also helping people understand exactly what you expect of them to do. So that's really important you do that. And also on your position descriptions, you want key performance indicators as well. So what's the key performance indicators that role needs to achieve for that role to be successful? That's more relevant on some roles than others, but you want to define them where you can and where it is relevant. Now, there's a great book, Good to Great, by Jim Collins. He talks about the metaphor of your business being a bus. And in this scenario, you're thinking about, okay, let's design the bus. First and foremost, where's the bus going? What's the vision for this business? Where are we heading? So that people can go, yeah, that's the bus I want to be on or not. That's where I want to get to. I want to get to there too. Then your values, okay, this is how we behave on the bus. This is what's acceptable. This is not what's acceptable. Okay, great. I share those values. I want to be on the bus with people like that. Then you look at your org chart. That's the seats on the bus. So this is the seats we've got available on the bus. And they go, oh yeah, I like that seat. I'd like to sit in that seat. It helps you get organised on building that team. Building team is actually one of the hardest things you're going to do in your business. It's harder than finance. It's harder than the marketing and the growing. So it's really important that you spend the time getting it right. One of the reasons it's the hardest is because often as owners, especially as entrepreneurs, you're not really good managers. And essentially what you're doing here is as you build a team, especially as you grow, you have to become good at management as well as leadership, which is obviously the next two steps. But they're the core things you need to focus on from a systems point of view. You then need to make sure you've got your management system set up as well, which we'll go through next. While your systems are designing it on paper what you need, your management is now starting to put this into action and making sure you've got the management processes in place to set that up and to manage it. So that obviously starts with the recruitment process. So you need to get very good at recruitment. So you need a process set up for that, which includes details of exactly who you need, the type of person for each role, then also how to write a good job ad, where to post that ad, how to then shortlist the applicants, how to then interview those applicants, both on the phone and face-to-face, how to do your reference checks, and how to make sure you do everything you can to hire the right person. So you need to get good at that, and that starts with getting a system in place. It's obviously what we give you in the academy on the one-on-one coaching as well, but you need to make sure you have a process for that initially that you can follow, but then as you grow, your key team members can follow as well when they're building their team. Again, often people aren't very good at this, so it's important you get that right. After you're recruiting somebody, then it's inductions. So you need to make sure you've got a good induction process for those roles. The whole point of an induction process is to get people up to speed as quickly as possible and be an effective employee as quickly as possible. So you need to set that process up for each role. And often what we've got at the academy is we've got actually a checklist, so a template that you can use. There's just a list of things that you need to do when a new employee comes on that somebody can follow to make sure they're inducted properly. So you can do that and set that up for each type of role in your business and then assign that to somebody when they come on board to make sure you're inducting them properly. Now, in a small business, you don't have HR departments, especially as you're growing. It's down to you and often an admin person supporting you. And then as you grow, your other team members as well. It takes quite a while to get to the point where you really want someone in HR, and that's more of a corporate thing. But here you need to be able to make sure you're doing what you can to get people up and running as quickly as possible. Then it's about managing that person. So there's 4 key things you can do there. It's training, team meetings, one-on-one, and performance reviews. So you need to have them in place so that you are managing that team effectively. Your team, there's 3 key things that you need to have in place for your team to be effective. The first is the system or process. The second is the training on how to do it. The third is the accountability. Often the key thing that's missing is the accountability. That's where the team meetings, one-on-ones, and performance reviews come in. You need to do them on a regular basis so you can make sure you keep people on track, keep them motivated, keep them wanting to go towards the vision of the business, and keep things going in the right direction. What tends to happen is people don't do that and they let things slide, and what was a good employee turns into a mediocre, or worse, a bad employee, or a bad employee is kept for way too long. I see this all the time because that accountability part's not in play. No one's even told that employee that they're not happy with them. They think they're kind of guessing what they need to do, because often they don't have a position description. No one's telling them well done when they've done well done, and no one's redirecting them when they need redirecting. So you need to make sure you have that in place to maximize the opportunity for your team to perform well. If you don't have that, it's only you to blame when they don't perform well. And look, some employees aren't going to perform well regardless, but it's still your responsibility to deal with that and move them on if necessary. And that's the other area from a management point of view they need to have in place, and that's how to deal with a team member that's not performing well. So you need that turnaround meeting and that management where you can manage their performance if need be, and disciplinary processes as well. You need to make sure you have that in place. Obviously, it needs to follow employment law, but also you need to be doing the right thing, not just for that employee, but for the rest of the team. The rest of the team will watch how you treat team members and then will translate that to them. So if they see you being unfair, then they'll think you'll be unfair to them, and it damages the relationship you have with them. And it may be that employee you're trying to deal with is not being a good employee, and I've seen plenty of poor employees over the years of doing this, but it's not about that employee, it's about your other employees and making sure you're doing the right thing by them too, or be seen to doing the right thing even to this employee. But often it gets to that stage because it's not being managed properly on the way through. You should pick up quite soon if an employee is not right, or if something changes, and deal with it on that regular basis. But sometimes it then has to be escalated, and that's when you do the turnaround meeting, and potentially you start giving warnings and potentially firing them. So I've done lots of situations where we've had to performance manage people. I don't think I've had anyone yet that we've actually had to fire. Most people leave before they get to that point because they know it's coming. But you need to make sure you do everything you can to obviously get the right person in. When they're in, you manage them properly and sort them out if they're not operating properly, and ultimately move them on if you need to. Don't keep them too long. I've seen clients where I've come in and they've identified an employee that's not working, but they've been doing the role for 10 years. And they're really unhappy with that person, but they just let it slide, because they don't know how to do it, or they're too scared, or too much time's gone by, they don't know how to start. And when we've gone in and sorted that out, the relief once that person's gone, and you probably experienced it yourself, but the difference between someone who's good and right for the role versus someone who's not is the difference between night and day. Your whole job as an entrepreneur is about spotting talent and helping them flourish, because you want your team, especially your core management team as you grow, to be talented and people who can run the business so you can focus on the business or somewhere else. But you need to get those management processes set up. The next area for you to build and master your team and master people is leadership. So you need to develop your leadership skills. You are the owner, you are the leader. There's a difference between a leader and a manager. Leaders are people who want to follow leaders. Managers manage people and push them along. Leaders at the front, and people like to follow them. So you need to work on your leadership skills. And often as an entrepreneur, they are something you need to learn and grow your skill set there. If you can be an effective leader, it's going to have a massive impact on your team as a whole and enable you to scale a lot further and earn a lot more. So you need to work on those leadership skills. And that first kind of starts with you understanding what a leader is and how to work that leadership up. Going back to good to great, which I've talked about in a bit because it's a very good book. But he talks about in there. He talks a lot about leadership, and what they did is good to great studies companies that went from being good companies to great companies, and compared them to other companies that didn't make the jump. And they defined great by someone who'd outperformed the stock market, I think, by 10 times for a 15-year period, where before they weren't doing that. So they're trying to work out the differences. One of the things he said he didn't want to focus on was leadership, but the data kept pushing them to leadership. And they realized the leaders of the good to great companies were very different style of leaders than those of the comparison companies that didn't jump from good to great. And he called it level 5 leadership. So it's really important you learn about level 5 leadership, and that's about holding people responsible and accountable, holding yourself responsible, accountable, allowing your team to take the wins and allowing yourself to take the losses. So there's a lot you can learn from that. That's the first step, is to kind of understand and learn that level 5 leadership. Then you need to learn some other key skills as well. Things like delegation, teamwork, team management. There's certain skill sets that you need to learn, and there's a list of subjects that we teach in the checklist that goes with this video. So check that out and check that out in the program. But it is about developing and growing your leadership skills, because you've got that in place where you've got functional management, good leadership skills and good systems. That is the foundation and principles you need in place to build that team. That's the fundamental principles you need in place to manage and master your people. I hope you found that useful. If you do want any more help with that, there's plenty of help in the Academy program or the one-on-one coaching programs, which you can check out. Any questions, put them below in the comments. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to get some more training for your business. Look forward to talking to you soon. Cheers.